Okay, we are recording. So once again, welcome everyone to the InterMine community call for March 12th. We are going to be talking a tiny bit about Google Summer of Code and Outreachy, a lot more about the more recent releases, and we're also going to get some demos for the new features for BlueGenes. And we have a couple of reminders. So we have a code of conduct with InterMine. And that means basically treat one another well with respect and the way that you would like to be treated by another person. This is not something we mention because there have been any issues. Everyone has been fantastic so far. But just in case, we want us to make sure that this is a safe community where you feel like you can raise anything. So if you feel like you've observed any problems or you have been the victim of any problems, you can contact myself. If it's something that I've done, then we also have Daniela's email. They're both in the top of the document, so that you can raise those issues with us to let us know what's been going on. And I will start with the main agenda now. So I will just briefly mention, we are doing Google Summer of Code and Outreachy this year. So for the last 3 years, we've been doing primarily Google Summer of Code, which means that we have been having interns who've been working with us for about 3 months. This year, we didn't officially get into Google Summer of Code, which was a bit of a bummer, but thankfully we had a fantastic backup plan, which was to participate in Outreachy, which means that we will still be having interns. The main difference between Google Summer of Code and Outreachy is that Outreachy is specifically dedicated to bringing people who are underrepresented in tech into tech. And so we have at least 3 Outreachy students that will be taking on, potentially more. And in addition, the Open Bioinformatics Foundation has agreed to let us put 3 projects up under their umbrella organization for Google Summer of Code, which means that we still will do a little bit Google Summer of Code this year. It's just going to be a tiny bit smaller than previous years. But it should be roughly the same whether it's Outreachy or whether it's Google Summer of Code. We'll be having interns like we have for the last few years. And so I can see quite a few faces here that I think are probably Outreachy or Google Summer of Code potential applicants. It's lovely to see you here. And we definitely also have mentors as well, including volunteer community mentors. And thank you very much for that. I'm just going to mute a couple of people because we're getting a bit of background noise. And mute. Okay, apologies for that. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to mention about Google Summer of Code and Outreachy at the moment, except to say that most of the InterMine team as mentors are a bit getting lots and lots of emails and chat messages at the moment. So if we don't respond to anything, please ping us another email. It may just be that we've been getting a lot of messages and we've missed it. We are not ignoring you, I promise. Yeah, that's everything I had to say for that. So we actually have Daniela here who's going to talk about the most recent InterMine releases. Dani, are you ready? You're muted. Do you want me to unmute you? I think I software muted you. Oh, you should be good now. Testing? Sorry. No. Oh, I can hear something. Try talking? Or is that just my own background? No.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Hooray!
Yeah, but I cannot hear you.
Oh no!
No. Last attempt. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
The problem is that I cannot hear you.
Give her a thumbs up. Who knows? Give her a thumbs up.
Do you want me to proceed? Okay, really sorry, guys. I have this laptop, but I can do only one thing, or talk or listen. So what I can do now, I try to talk, then I put my microphone if you have any questions so I can hear you. So we try in this way. Really sorry. So, I would like to spend a few minutes talking about the latest two InterMine releases that we have done with the new year. So in February, we released the InterMine 411 and then 412 last week. And are both not disruptive releases. So what do you mean? Does it mean that doesn't involve any change on the model? And so you can update and let's say re-release the web app without any issues. I would like first to thank you all our fantastic contributors. In particular, I would like to mention Joe, Paolo, and Asher, and also the people that reply back to the email and to the support and to developer emails. Thank you, Sam, to reply back sometimes to the emails. And then sorry if I sometimes reply back to you not immediately. So just a few words about the release. I should have opened somewhere. Okay, so InterMine 412 was essentially a release where we did some improvements on the web app, small improvements. The most important was we were able to display the dataset URL on the result table. Then we fixed the loop query constraint. And in addition, we removed the upload the genome space into the export pop-up because the genome space will not work anymore, will not support it anymore. About some cleaning, we have removed IAM.js and IAM.table.js script that they were still, by mistake, they were still in the web app. So we removed from the web app because they are downloaded automatically. We have done several tests in the build and in deploy the web app using Java 11. And we are pretty sure that it works well with Java 11. And the last thing that I would like to mention was we did some improvement on the web service Python code generator, which is now work with PEP 8. So this was the main changes in the 412 release. If you want to go for more detail, you can go in GitHub InterMine release and you will find all the bugs that we have fixed. For the last release, 413, why we did that one? Because we had some issue with the templates. So essentially, the main issue was that when Rachel tried to create a new template or an existing one and tag with IAM public template, then if she logged out and went to the template page, the template was visible, but when you click on the template, there was an error message saying the template doesn't exist. And the similar issue was with the deleting the template. So we were in a rush to release a 413 because we wanted essentially fix these two issues with the template. And I have also, from BioSource, I have fixed a problem on the VCF BioSource, which it didn't work before. Probably nobody of us uses that converter, but now it works with the example that are shown in the link which I put on the agenda. I forgot to mention that in the release of 412, we have also released the GFF BioSource. I don't know if it was a mistake because I have the feeling that when we migrated to Gradle, we missed that BioSource. But I'm not sure if Julie did it on purpose because GFF cannot be very generic, or it was a mistake. Anyway, we added it and it works. And the last thing that I would like to mention in the latest release was that we fixed in the report page the links to HumanMine and FlyMine that were broken because when we migrate to HTTPS, we forgot to update the configuration file. So these are the main things for the latest 2 releases. I would like to mention, before if you have any question, but I would like to say last thing about the next release. We haven't decided yet when schedule the next one, but for sure, I'm pretty sure that the next release will contain some model changes, so it will be a disruptive release. What I would really like to add is a suggestion from Joel, who suggested to add to the CDS feature to add a new attribute phase. And I would like to merge a pull request provided by Sam related to the some strain updates. So I don't know if Sam has, if you want to talk about the strain updates, or we can move over. So if you have any question, I try to put the microphone to hear your question.
Thank you, Danny. I'll just add, while if anyone has questions that they'd rather type rather than verbalize, then that's okay as well. And I have a performing cat. Okay, I see one comment from the chat, Sam saying, not really, they're pretty boring, but I'm not quite sure what the context is. Oh, the strain updates. Okay, Sam is not excited by strains.
Okay, but it's okay to add it to the next release, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I've been using them through quite a oh man, for ages. Yeah, they're fine.
Cool. Okay, does anyone else have any comments or questions about the recent releases? Okay, right. So the next part of our call, hopefully you've been hearing a lot about BlueGenes. Since Kevin has joined us in June, he's been doing a lot of amazing work getting stuff actually really moving. And so we're going to demo some of the exciting updates that he's been doing. Kevin, are you ready? I do see a note from Esha saying we updated to InterMine 4.13. Web properties work now. Thank you. And FailMine works with BlueGenes too. Nice.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay, great. Can you see me as well?
We can see you, yeah.
Okay, I only see you, but that's fine. So let's hope the share screening works. Can you see my screen as well?
It looks beautiful.
Okay. So I recently deployed this to bluegenes.apps.intermine.org, and it has many new changes that I'll go through. And for all the interns from Outreach or GSOC following this, it's now finally deployed. The thing I've been saying I'm going to do this week. So now BlueGenes should be working after FlyMine deprecated HTTP or started redirecting it to HTTPS, which caused some course errors. So by default, it will connect to Alpha FlyMine, which is a branch of InterMine that Daniela has set up this week, that has all the changes and new web services that BlueGenes requires. So, and you'll still be able to switch to the other mines like normal. So let's just check my cheat list. Let's go through the tool store first. So we'll probably find a better place for it later on, but under developer and tool app store, you have all the tools that, let me just hide this window. There we go. All the tools. So these are tools NPM packages that many of them Akshat, the intern, and he's now a mentor for this year, but he was a GSOC student last year, developed many of these. And they are NPM packages with a specific tag called BlueGenes InterMine tool with dashes in between. And by default, when you start a new BlueGenes instance, by deploying one, it will automatically install all of those that are under the InterMine account. But if we have different tools that are released by, or uploaded to NPM under a different account, they will show up at the bottom here. So if I try removing one, you see here it will say under available tools. So I'll just remove some more of them. And these are now, the metadata on them is grabbed directly from the NPM API, NPMS. And if you have tools that are not installed or tools that are under different users, they will pop up here so you can install them later on. And you can install all of them one by one, or just click install all tools to install all of them, which is a bit longer. So once the tools are installed, you have the full information that is present in the config.json, which is part of the BlueGenes spec, the BlueGenes tool spec. So here it will show a description along with a preview image, supported data types, which is, so these tools here, for example, this one, the BlueGenes expression box form visualizer, it will show on the report page for genes. While this one, which doesn't have a name in the NPM package, but it's the Cytoscape tool, it will show on gene and proteins. So since some mines have different models, some tools will only support specific models that, or specific data that is not present in all the models. So in this case, it will show a warning here. This tool will not show in FlyMine as it doesn't support Atlas expression. So Atlas expression is only used in HumanMine, and therefore this tool won't show if you have FlyMine selected like I have now. While in HumanMine, it will still display just fine. So when there are new versions released, you can just click here and it will update all of the installed tools to the newest versions. So I hope if anybody has any questions regarding the tools, I can take them now, or should we take them later on?
I guess I'm curious where the state of your tool installations is stored. Is that stored in the browser cache?
No, so that's a good question. So BlueGenes has a small backend, and one of those tasks of that backend is that it saves the tools. So when you deploy BlueGenes on that backend, it will, on the first run, download all the tools that are under the InterMine user, like I explained, and save that into a folder. So it will download them as tar archives.
Right. So if you're running anonymously, you'll just what's the situation if you don't log in?
It will still work. So you won't be able to, removing and installing tools is only available for admins. So this BlueGenes instance is coupled with the alpha FlyMine InterMine instance. And my user, KHR29, is an admin or a super user on that instance. And that's why I can remove these tools, because the backend will separately check that I'm authenticated as a super user. It doesn't trust the client at all. So
okay. Oh, I didn't understand that. I thought this was for end user customization, but this is for us,
yeah, that's
mine
right.
administrators, to set up what the users get to see.
Yeah, that's right. So in the future, we have more ideas for other options in BlueGenes that mine administrators can set. So currently you set them in config files with the old JSP web app, the current one. But we want to move all of that into the interface, so that we'll have a dedicated page for like an admin panel. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I would, I've always found that, you know, the number of us that are actually mine administrators is pretty small, and we're pretty good at what we do. I'm not sure I would emphasize a web administrative interface that highly, because as you know, XML works. But
Yeah.
that's just my opinion.
Well, that's good feedback, because then we can down prioritize that and focus on other things before release, and then maybe have that as something we add later.
So these tools are all relevant to the gene report page, is it? Every tool on this page is something that will show up on a gene report page, correct?
Sorry, what did you say? Could you repeat it?
The tools that you are showing on this list of tools, they all correspond to what shows up on a gene report page or list analysis page. Nothing to do with the results page, right?
Yeah, so it's the report page. And like I could show you. Let's just hope this works, because I haven't tested it with FlyMine. Yeah.
I think PPARG is a human gene.
Oh. There we have a fly gene. So yeah, they'll display here. We still have lots of work remaining on this report page. I'm not very happy with it now. It only shows everything in one column. But this is where all the tools will load.
Okay, yeah, that's all I was asking.
Yeah. So currently the tools only show on the report page, or the ones we have, but we support tools for the list page as well. So by that I mean when you write a query and run that query and get the results. I can show that page later on. So yeah, if there's no more questions, I'll go over to the query builder.
Actually, I've got a side question for Daniela. Are we planning at some point to standardize the data model for expression?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know. I think I'm not prepared about that. Maybe we can discuss if we have time on the call today, or maybe we can start a discussion via email. Maybe it's better.
Yeah, that's kind of we've sometimes had these data model discussions, but you know, when we're starting to build these tools and these analysis, like I have heat maps. I think for them to be useful, we probably should add what they access to the core data model, because otherwise people are always picking and choosing little pieces of other custom mine data models.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Do you want to start a ticket on GitHub, Sam?
Yeah, I'll fire something up. It's not urgent. I couldn't remember whether we had gotten into expression or not.
Sorry, I wasn't able to hear you. Anyway, if you want to, it's complicated. No, I was thinking, Sam, if you can start a conversation on GitHub, it would be great. Okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
I think this is sort of related to Sam's question, but so Kevin, when you presented the tools page, you mentioned that some of the things gave you warnings that it wouldn't work in FlyMine because the data model didn't support it.
Yeah.
So I assume that if you switch to some other mine, it takes into account what capabilities that mine has. And
yeah, I think I did that. We can check.
Okay.
It's kind of a while since I added this, so I don't remember all the details. I also added errors for when web services are not working, which is the case for human mind currently. So yeah, it seems
I think,
different errors now.
yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to sort of think about, you know, what does a mine really need, you know, not only in terms of its data model, but in terms of its data to be able to support some of these things, because I imagine that many of these just wouldn't do anything in our legume mines, but even though they might have gene.
Yeah, that's something I haven't looked into at all, really. So that's true.
Yeah.
So I'll just change back to the AlphaFly mine, which has new features, and I guess I'll go over to the query builder. So I just looked at the existing query builder in the old JSP web app and copied over all the features that I saw we were missing. So firstly, we have recent queries and save queries. So if I can save a query by just typing a name, and then it will appear under here with showing some information about it, so you can distinguish between different queries. And you have, similarly, you also have recent queries. So if I run this and then go back here, it will have popped up on the recent queries, and it will show the time it ran as well. And similarly, the third way is by having the XML. So you can copy the XML. If I can focus this, there we go. Then it's a bit slow. And it seems like my browser has slowed to a halt.
Are you using one of the really old laptops, Kevin?
I don't know if it's old. Well, it's probably an old MacBook.
Yeah, all those MacBooks were old when I joined, and that was nearly 5 years ago.
Anyways, so loading XML queries work fine as well, and you can now also set sort order of the columns, and you can sort by multiple. So it will sort in the order you add them to. So if you even want to sort by 3 columns, you can do that. And like usual, you can also change the order of the headers. And a more advanced thing is that you can set outer join as well. We decided to symbolize this with the intersection, set intersection symbol. And it will, in addition, oh, it's sadly truncated on the screen. So let's try and get the tooltip. So by default, it will show when you add classes to your query, it will do an inner join. So that's by default. And that means it will only show the genes if they have everything you have asked for. But we support something called outer join, which is a bit of a difficult term. And that just means that it will show that class that you select to outer join, even though whether they are present or not. So if I run this query, actually that's probably an invalid query. Or actually there we got it, just slow. So they will show us subtables. In this case, it's only one, but usually if you write a more intelligent query than I do, then you'll get much more rows in that subtable. That's almost it, except we added the data model browser, which is something that is present on the JSP web app. I don't know how many people use it. I've heard that many people use it to, or at least the InterMine team use it to check the amount of each data that's present in the database. So here you have the entire structure. It's expanded by default. And when you click on one of them, it will select that in the model browser. So it's supposed to be an alternative to this very large and unwieldy drop-down selection for selecting the root of your query. So I think that covers it all. We're still missing the ability to create templates, so that's something I hope to work on within the next few months. So if there's any questions. It doesn't sound like it. So I'll go to the next and last thing, which is, yeah, that's the organizing of lists. So for all this time, you'd have to save your lists in a flat structure. So let's just add some more lists here. Let's run this query, then save it. Didn't I save it? Okay, it stopped again. I think this is related to the results page, so I should probably check in on that. Yeah, so we added a new button, which is, you have to be logged in to use it, but it's available for all users. And admins can also use it to use it on public lists so that they can create folders for the public list, which will be available for all users. So it applies to both public lists and the personal lists. So in this case, I'm doing it on my personal lists. So it's just a simple, like any other file system, you can add folders, and then you drag and drop, put them into the folders, and then you can put folders into other folders. And I hope this drag and drop interface makes sense to everybody. It was the easiest way I thought of and we thought of to implement this. And then when you save changes, it will update it so that you can put things into folders and keep things structured. And when you move things out of folders, folders can be deleted by pulling it into the trash icon. Or if you leave them, we'll just let you know that we don't save empty folders. So this my folder that you left lying around without any content will be deleted if you choose to save it, or you can go back and put things into it if you absolutely want that folder. So hopefully that will keep things more organized with the lists.
Is there a particular reason to delete empty folders automatically? Because that's very much against the style of almost all operating systems.
So it's actually an implementation detail in that we don't have a specific web service for implementing folders, and we do it via tags, and tags can only be attached to lists. It's kind of a hack, but it works pretty well. Oh, the lights went off. It works pretty well just with this limitation. So
could you have a null list that exists like a dot file inside the directory to keep it alive?
Yeah, I had this suggested from my colleagues, and what was the reason for that? That will have made the solution even more hacky. But
yeah.
you can have lists, but I think they would still appear on older mines. So we wanted to keep this backwards compatible. So in this case, all these lists, you'll just be adding a tag to them, a special tag. And on older mines that don't support this, if you use the web app, they'll just show up as normal lists, so they won't be affected.
Okay.
All right. So are there any more questions?
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. As an intern or a proposed intern, outreach intern, so how do I go about having access to the BlueGenes tools and to get familiar with them without okay, I'm not an administrator and I would like to get familiar with the tools. So how do I go about this? Is there any special registration?
If you want to check them out, all you need to do is open this URL, and you don't need to be logged in at all to use most of the features here. You can still save lists, I believe, even though you're not logged in, and you can do most of the things. It's just that it might not persist if the next time you start BlueGenes. But like usual, you can search for genes and proteins, and you can change mines because you will have different visualizations dependent on the mine. And this way you can see the visualizations that we have currently. You can also clone the visualizations repo and then run npm run dev, which is usually written in the README, to just run each visualization independently. So yeah, if you want to see how they are in BlueGenes, this is definitely the best way to open the web app that is now working again.
Okay.
So now I'm just trying to open PPARG on the human mine. So BlueGenes lets you connect to many different mines, and you can change that with the cogwheel in the top. And especially FlyMine and human mine have most of the visualizations been developed for. They display some different visualizations that you won't find in both of them. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Does anyone have any more questions regarding BlueGenes? Anything? Okay, thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, Kevin, for that really exciting demo. I think we're really looking forward to getting those features out and working with everyone. In the chat, there's been a little bit of discussion. So Asher has found that SailMines works quite nicely with, where am I going with? Yeah, that works quite nicely with the MSA viewer, but it hasn't worked quite as nicely with the whichever legume mine Andrew was looking at. So thank you, Andrew. That's actually really good. Finding out all the edge cases where we expect stuff to work that doesn't work is actually really handy. So we will jot that down and see if we can figure out. We have a lot of interns who are looking for issues to work on, so that might be a good one to put down for at the minute. So if anyone else is going through for their InterMines and actually finding things that you'd expect to work that don't work, please do let us know, because now is the time when we have a lot of capacity to actually remove those bugs and errors and smooth things out.
So I didn't manage to I managed to mess up my interface here and couldn't find my mute button in time. So I did actually have a question for you, Kevin.
Okay, go ahead.
Which was at the point at which you were demonstrating cutting and pasting of XML from within the query builder and from one bit of it to another. I mean, surely in that particular case, if you wanted to run the XML under your top right-hand corner XML tab, you just have a run it now rather than to actually cut and paste it.
Yeah, that's how it works. So actually the XML in the top right corner is your present query. So before I loaded it, I had to clear it. But usually the use case will be to copy an XML from a file or from the JSP pages or anywhere else you have saved the XML, because of course similar to the one that used.
I apologize for the overly obvious question.
No, it's just a good question. It might not have been obvious how I demoed it.
Okay. I pasted the BlueGenes URL into the chat as well, just in case that was useful.
Thank you, Gus. Cool. Anyone else have any more questions or comments?
It all looked great.
So I see there's still some discussion about the MSA viewer from Sam and Andrew talking about how to support the MSA. Yep, ping us as well, Sam, if you need to. We can figure out if we need to change those tools. But I'm sure it could be done. So I think that's probably everything we had for today's call, unless anyone else has anything they'd like to discuss that hasn't been added to the agenda.
Well, I guess I'm wondering, getting back to the, you remember before Julie left, we had kind of planned on having a data model Thursday once in a while. I can't remember what and I think in the end we only had like one or two. But now that we've got these tools that are hopefully shareable, that are running off of the data model, I think that becomes important again. So I would suggest that we do a little data model wrangling, along with maybe thinking about BlueGenes at the same time. But it's really more about just deciding on a data model that everybody can stomach. So I'll fire that up with expression, right? Because I think that's long overdue. I've got heat maps, I got all sorts of expression stuff. Nobody else can use it because my expression's a different model. And we'll take it from there.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you very much for being willing to volunteer to get that started with expression. Because like you say, it will be really useful if we can get these tools used across multiple InterMines with little to no effort. And Kevin's made such a beautiful installer. Yeah, that's awesome. Any other comments, thoughts, ideas, questions? Can be unrelated to anything we've talked about so far.
There's an item on the agenda about federated result sets.
I will admit, I haven't had the chance to really prepare for that today. If everyone else wants to have a chat, then feel free.
Are you referring to be able to query multiple mines at the same time?
Yes.
Is that what federated? Okay. But that's for future, right?
I think, yeah, we'll probably have to leave that one to the next InterMine call. Although I know we have had some fantastic discussions. Andrew and Sam and a few other people have been having some great ideas about that. But maybe if we have a think about that, put our thinking caps on for next time, I'll put that on the agenda for our next call. Okay, so unless anyone else has anything, wave at your screen frantically or unmute. I'm going to wrap up. So it's been lovely to speak to you all today. Again, really exciting hearing about the releases, about the different things that Kevin's been working on for BlueGenes. We will keep you updated, and the next call, we're going to switch to probably roughly quarterly calls, but we will do our very best to make sure that they always happen on the date that we say that they're going to be happening. So right now, 3 months time from now is roughly 4th of June. So we probably will be looking at our next call about then, unless we end up with an earlier call regarding the expression data or model additions, which we may end up needing if we can take this forwards for the BlueGenes tools. I normally have a session for upcoming events. Right now, my advice is please don't go to any events. Stay safe, stay indoors, and try not to spread any viruses. And I think that's everything. So it's been lovely to speak to you. We will be uploading this call to YouTube for anyone who's missed it, and have a great day or evening or night or morning.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to end this meeting. Unless anyone has anything they'd like to say? Danny, you're silent. Okay, see you. Bye.